Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation. The MisFitNation show. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, are starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Sunday after dinner show in the Misfit Nation. In the chat right now, the Tuesday crew is manning the chat. So if you have any questions, send it to them in the chat. They will take care of them and send them to me. Before we get going, we're on the Officer Down Memorial page today. I haven't been on there the last week or so because I haven't been any updates, but I go on there today and there's 4 names on there. So we're going to say their names and make sure the world knows that we're thinking about them and their families as they go through this time of need. Police Officer Jamal Mitchell, Minneapolis Police Department, and the watch, May 30th, 2024. Trooper First Class, Aaron Pelletier, Connecticut State Police, and the watch, May 30th, 2024. Police Officer Joshua Brees, Gila River Police Department, and the watch, June 1st, 2024. Senior Police Officer Vincente Ortiz Jr., Corpus Christi Police Department, Texas. End of watch, June 1st, 2024. Let's keep them in your thoughts, your prayers. Keep their families in your thoughts and prayers. And, of course, their friends as well as they go through this mourning period. Tonight, we have a great guest. She's the author of Bodies to Die For, a thriller that takes a hard look at social media, the $70 billion diet industry, and the war on women's bodies, the wars we wage with each other and with ourselves. She is also a lifting enthusiast, group fitness instructor, yoga teacher, and software quality engineer. In past lives, she's been a gymnast, dancer, Playboy model, and bodybuilder. So without further ado, let's welcome Miss Lori Brand to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Lori.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. It's great to have you here. And if I read the rest of this, we'd be here all night. So I'm going to let you tell the rest of your story. I just gave a little bit about you. And it's great to, like I said, it's great to have you here on a Sunday night, taking some of your time to hang out with us. Please tell us the rest of your story from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Okay, so I'm going to go like all the way back, right? So I first encountered diet culture when I was 10 years old, and my dance teacher had her jaw wired shut. I know it was really crazy. My mom was driving me to dance one night, or it was like 6 o'clock or so, driving me to dance. And I'd been in dance, my whole life up to that point. I probably started dance when I was like 3 years old. And she says to me, Barb's not going to be teaching for the next few months. Jill, that's her assistant, is going to be teaching. Barb will still be there, but she'll just be seated off to the side and she'll be taking notes, but she'll be interacting with Jill. I said, oh, okay, why? And my mom said, well, Barb had her jaw wired shut. I said, well, why'd she do that? Right. And my why'd that happen? And my mom said, well, she had it wired shut because she wanted to lose some weight. And I was just flabbergasted. I was like, what? Like, why? How come? And I had all these questions. And my mom, I have a good mom, but my mom was like, you know what? We're like, she's dropping me off at the curb, right? It's time to go. We live pretty close. And she's like, don't go in there asking questions. You're going to embarrass her, right? Just go in there and be a good girl, right? So I go in there, my other friends, they go in there. Sure enough, Barb is off to the side with her notebook. And what really got me is that nobody was freaking out. No other moms are freaking out. Nobody's freaking out, right? And over the next few months, Barb starts to shrink. She gets smaller and smaller and smaller. She sits off to the side, periodically sucking a shake through her lips, her cheekbones popping. And at one point I do something to warrant her attention, and, she curls her finger, and so I go over to her in my tap shoes, tap, tap, tap. And I don't remember what she said to me, but I had to lean in close to hear her. And I don't even know what it was, but I said, is it really true? Is your jaw wired shut? And, she shook her head, yes. And I asked if you could see the wires. And so she hooked her finger in the side of her lips and she showed me. And you could see these metal wires zigzagging up and down. And it left just such a huge impression on me. How important was it to be thin? It was important enough that a grown woman would have her jaw wired shut. And it's been on my radar ever since. And, I throughout school, I had different friends that had eating disorders. When I was in college, I got a side job as a stripper, and so that, then if you've ever got any illusions about what you look like, you'll have to sort out for you pretty fast, through the dollar. And, I brought that one on myself. Right. But then, so I just always was really aware of how my body looked, how it was being judged. And I lived in this constant fear of losing weight, right? Or of gaining weight, just a big fear of gaining weight. And then it wasn't until I was about 40 years old where I sort of had an epiphany. I hadn't lifted at that point. I hadn't exercised for about 6 years because I was really busy with my kids and everything. And I hadn't actually gained any weight or anything, but I remember seeing myself in the mirror and just thinking, even though I looked okay, I just remember thinking I missed my arms. I thought I looked like a lot weaker than I used to look. And I felt like I was mentally weak. And so I decided that I wanted to start lifting weights because I wanted to get strong. And it was that change, that wanting to get strong, that just changed everything. Because instead of this restrictive, like what I can't eat, that I need to shrink, it was just changing my goal to getting strong. Instead of taking away from your body, you're nourishing your body, you're trying to support growth. It changed everything. It made me want to, it made me mentally strong. It made me quit hanging around people who were kind of jerky people and everything. And I just expected better. I thought I deserved better. And I really wanted to share this with others. And so I started teaching strength classes, and I started writing for fitness magazines. And eventually I just had to package this message. And so I tucked it into a novel. My novel, it's a thriller. It's called Bodies to Die For. And that's what it is.
It definitely is. From that earliest experience of seeing your teacher with their jaw wired shut.
Oh, it's crazy.
Shot and all is nuts. But then I think you mentioned in your book about social media, and
girls,
they have nowhere to escape now. They can get bullied at school, and then they go home and they have that leash in their hand that they have to look at because someone's going to like something or say something.
Yeah.
And it's going to tell them how ugly they are or how big they are, or even the boys too. Boys get the same stuff as girls now. There's no break from it. How do we break that now?
So one of the things that my book looks at, it's how we judge each other and how we judge ourselves. So often we say, society this and society that, right? But who is society, right? We are society, right? And so we have to start in our immediate circle, and we have to be kind to each other. If you hear somebody judging another woman, speak up, say something. You yourself don't judge somebody else. Don't judge yourself. Be kind to yourself. And even like things I won't do. If I see a magazine that has a woman with a black rectangle over her eyes, like a fashion don't, or something, like her pants are tight, or if a headline says so and so got fat or whatever, you see these magazines at grocery stores, in the checkout line, right? I will not buy a magazine like that. I refuse to. And I think if everybody who's listening to this, if we all start to just refuse to buy things like that, if we refuse to support it when other people shame each other for what they look like, I think the world would be a better place. And I just think we all need to start speaking up and being kind to each other, being gracious to each other. Yeah,
I think we definitely do. And I think once you actually talk to people and not just use the print edition, or use your hiding behind a keyboard skills to shame. If you can go to that person, talk to them in their face and say, hey, I think it'd be better maybe if you get a little healthier, or maybe how about me and you go work out and we'll get through this together, instead of the whole other side of it where you make them go to the extreme, like wiring your jaw shut.
Yeah, I think it's Mike Tyson who's got this great quote, like social media has made you all way too comfortable disrespecting people without worried about getting punched in the face or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I think I
You
read it.
know?
Without
Yeah.
getting your teeth knocked out. Yes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Definitely does. And do you think that all this bullying and cyberbullying and actual face-to-face bullying back in the day too, do you think that pushed the body positivity movement now? And what are your thoughts on the body positivity?
Okay, so this is actually, well, I'll tell you the impetus for my book, right? But I remember exactly when I kind of got my aha moment for my book. So in January 2020, Jillian Michaels was being interviewed on BuzzFeed News, and somebody asked, or the interviewer asked her what she thought about Lizzo, how she had become a body positivity role model. And Jillian said, "Well, why are we talking about her body and not her music?" Which is a good point, actually. But she said, it's not going to be great if she gets diabetes. And and social media blew up. I don't know if you remember this, but social media blew up. People were saying horrible things about Jillian, and then other people were jumping to her defense. People were saying it's not going to be great, if somebody gets diabetes, and then other people were saying she was body shaming. But then a few months later, Adele posted a birthday picture of herself to Instagram. And in the picture, it was clear that Adele had lost some weight. And all of a sudden, all these people came in. It was just a birthday picture of herself. It wasn't even about her body or anything. But all these people came out of the woodwork. Her post blew up because people were saying that they were disappointed in her because they looked up to her as a larger role model. But she doesn't owe anybody her body. She doesn't know anybody what she looks like. And it was that clash, so there's so much good about fitness, right? If you're physically strong, you can become mentally strong. It's good to have a healthy body, healthy body, healthy mind. But have been somebody who's worked in fitness, I know that there can be an ugly, especially in bodybuilding, there can be an ugly dark side. But now we were also seeing, there's a lot of good at the healthy at any size movement in the sense where people are feeling like they don't have to be a certain size to wear a swimsuit and go to the beach, and they're not hating themselves the way that they are. But we were starting to see this ugliness, this ugly underside to that healthy at every size movement, or the fat activism, where like when you're shaming people who are large for losing weight, or where you're expecting that, or when people were, I've also had some friends who have had some trolls be very cruel to them on social media. So some friends who are fit, and we're seeing it on both sides. And so I don't like to see that on either side. I don't think anybody owes anybody their body. I think with the healthy at any size movement, I think we need to let people work out for themselves what's healthy for them, and where they need to be. I know that there are those standards, right? That there are standards, but what you might not realize. So I volunteer at a homeless shelter on Saturdays where I teach yoga, and we will for homeless women and children, and we will often see it's a transitional housing. People will stay for like 4 to 6 months, maybe longer. And a lot of times we'll see people gain some weight after they come there. And it's because they've recently, say, gotten off of drugs, or they've left in an abusive relationship, and like they might be using that, like and sometimes I'll hear people say that they're feeling really bad about the weight that they gained, but my God, they just got off meth, So you just don't know what is really the best thing for somebody right now. Or sometimes you'll see somebody lose some weight, and it turns out that it's because they've got cancer, or they're going through a terrible depression, and you didn't know that. And so I think it's really hard for an outside person to look at somebody else's body and say what is best for them right now, on an individual basis, So I don't know, that's sort of my feeling on that. And I'd like us to just give each other some grace, and people can decide for themselves. I like to be able to do pull-ups, right? I like to feel like if the zombie apocalypse happened, I could be strong, I could be powerful, I could save myself.
Some cardio.
Yeah. I like to feel like if push came to shove, man, I'd be okay. And I'd like to see, I'd like to see other people chase strength rather than chase shrinking, because if you chase strength, a lot of times the rest sort of falls into line. That's sort of
My daughter, she has gotten into the fitness industry now.
Oh
and
yeah.
Her whole life, she was always a string bean her whole life.
Yeah.
She's thin as a rail. She can eat all day. But
Uh-huh.
now she knows to do her macros or micros now.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
So she is lifting, and she's getting gains, a lot of muscular gains, and she
Mhm.
is so proud of where she is and what she's
Yeah.
bringing up. Other women, most of her clients are women, so she's
Uh-huh.
making them have those gains as well and see that positivity in there and through her
Yeah.
eyes. Too. So that's her gym that I showed at the beginning of the show.
Oh,
Trifecta.
great. Yeah.
She has her own thing, LaMonica Fit, and it's growing. She's young, so she'll have some hiccups, but she's doing great things.
I think it's wonderful too to be able to have your own gym, your own something right now, where like you're not reliant. Like I work for, but aside from being an author, I work for like a great big corporation. You got to worry, not in fitness, but as an engineer, like that's like my day job. And you always have to worry when you work for somebody else that you're kind of at somebody else's mercy, or if you can work really hard and it doesn't necessarily get you anywhere. I really like that idea of owning your own gym. The harder that you work, it's something that's your own that nobody can take away from you. I love that.
Exactly. And I think we're seeing a lot of, I guess, shame and stuff right now. If you look at the WNBA right now,
Uh-huh.
Caitlin Clark is getting bashed by everyone on one side of the court. And no matter what she does, she's wrong, but she's the one that's bringing the money to the table right now for the WNBA. It's because of her ride and the other women that came in with her. And of course, all the greats that were there before that built the league and suffered and suffered and suffered and suffered. And now all of a sudden, so many people are trying to bash her, even on the court. Yesterday, she got destroyed just because, and other sports stars have said it's just pure jealousy. And it's horrible to see that amongst, especially eating your own, basically women on women,
Yep.
and it's usually the worst.
And that's actually what my book is a lot about, is the women on women. I think I think it's unfortunate. I really think strong women lift each other up, and we have to band together. We have to stick up for each other. We have to elevate each other, because when you drag one person down, you drag us all down. And I would just like to see more generosity between us.
If you take 2 steps forward, bring everyone with you. Don't bring her back.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
move forward. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Jake's put that up here earlier. He said, people who cannot be happy and positive about someone else's success need help, in his opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. Right. I think that's something internal. Right. Yeah.
It's a switch up there somewhere that's telling you, I gotta degrade you because you're doing something I wish I could do. Or something.
Yeah. It's insecurity. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I was reading your bio earlier, and it said once you finished a book, you were able to breathe a little bit, but then you started having people come to you and tell you their diet culture.
Oh,
What
yes.
are some of the stories that you were sharing?
Oh my gosh. So here when I wrote this book, I thought, I've got such a unique take on it because, I've got this background, right? And everybody's got a background. But once you start talking about this, you wouldn't believe. I mean, like, I've got people that have told me about, oh my God, like people whose parents, like a guy, right? I mostly thought women would read this, but I talked to a guy who was telling me that his parents sent him to fat camp, like for a few summers in a row. And he was like so embarrassed. Or like, or there have been girls who, like, their moms were always on diets. Like their moms were just always on diets, and like their moms really monitored what they ate, what they packed in their lunchbox. You made comments on what they ate, or just even, gosh, what else? Somebody else whose boyfriend would take her plate away from her while she was eating. He was, I guess he was a trainer. She's very pretty, by the way. She's a very beautiful girl. She's somebody that a lot of people would think was absolutely perfect the way that she is, but she's maybe just not what maybe his preference for a body type. Like I think maybe he's a personal trainer, and I think he might like people who are a little harder, whereas she's a little softer, but she would be right up many guys' alleys, So it just shows that, like, you can never make everybody happy, right? She's going to be a lot of people's 10, but for whatever reason, this guy thought she should be a little more hard body, but she was telling me about how he just picked up her plate while she was eating and walked away with it. I thought that was awful. Yeah.
That is really bad. It made me
I
think
thought so too.
have you ever seen the movie The Other Guys with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell?
I have not. No. What
In that
happened?
movie, Will Ferrell's married to basically a supermodel,
Mhm.
and he said she's not beautiful, she's cute, she's not a 10, she's this. He would always degrade her, so he didn't feel like he was less of a person, but he would
Yeah.
degrade her to her face, and that's exactly what you were just saying right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this girl is. She's a 10. She's a 10 by almost anybody's standards. I couldn't even believe it. So yeah.
Did you think when you were, I guess, growing up and going through all the different things you've done in your life that you would eventually write a book, or was that just something that spurred a moment in 2020?
No. So when I was younger, so I always when I was in my undergrad, I got a degree in chemistry. Just I took a creative writing class and I really liked it, but I never really considered like writing as say like a profession or something that I didn't know anybody who's like a legit writer. And then at one point I had thought about 10 years ago, I thought about writing I wrote a book, right? 10 years ago, I started to think to myself, maybe I would like to write a book. And so I wrote an entire book. I wrote the whole darn book. I queried it. I probably sent it to 60 plus agents. And I got some feedback on it, but I never, ever was able to get an agent. And I realized from the feedback I was getting that the book was probably going to need a significant rewrite. And I just didn't feel like it. For some reason, I just was like, I just don't feel like it. And looking back, I think that was a book I needed to write for me. But then when this thing with Jillian Michaels and Adele happened, and I just came to this, I was like, you know what, I should write a thriller about like these two sides clashing, like the fitness influencers and the fat activists clashing in a whole bunch of murders, right? And that was a different thing. Like when I was writing that book, I believed so strongly in this message, that the underlying message, about getting strong, being the answer, and that we as women need to work together to make for a better tomorrow. Like you get to that in the very end. But I felt so strongly about it that I wasn't going to stop at anything. And I worked so hard. I wrote that book. I rewrote that book. I got some beta readers. I got their feedback. I queried agents. I worked my tail off. I managed to, I think part of that passion, I was able to translate that into my queries. I managed to get an agent. My agent and I rewrote it 1,000,000 times. He took it out. He sold it. I got it. Now we sold it to an editor, an imprint. We rewrote it 1,000,000 times, and now it's finally getting launched. It takes so long for traditional publishing, but yeah. Yes. So that's it. But from when I first got the germ of the idea was in 2020, and my book is launching in June of 2024. Traditional publishing is a slog, man, or slog. Yeah.
Slog.
Slog. Yeah, but it's a long road, man. Long road to hoe.
I'm sure it is. I did both my books self-published, so but I'm sure you had the same euphoria when you're at the point where yes, it's out. Yes, my baby is coming out to other people. How does that feel now that you're published?
I'm so incredibly grateful. I'm just so great. I'm also very nervous, right? It launches in about 9 days from today, right? I'm really nervous. You only get one chance to debut. And, if it doesn't do well, it might be really hard to ever sell another book. So I'm nervous about that. But I'm also just very, very grateful that, I was able to find an agent to help me. I was able to find a publishing house to get behind me. I'm just very grateful to anybody who's had me on their podcast, or for any bookstagrammers on Instagram that have helped to promote my book. I'm just so incredibly grateful. There've been a lot of wonderful people who've really helped me.
All right, we got a question in the chat. Let's see if I can read all this.
Okay.
As a father of daughters and having a teenage granddaughter, what are some best practices for discussing body image and how not to listen to all the crap in the magazines and social media?
Yeah. So I will say, I think that I got really lucky, believe it or not, even though my mom was the one who told me like not to go and embarrass my dance teacher. I think I got really lucky that my parents never commented on my looks, right? Like when I was telling you about, like, I had friends who like their moms were always on diets, or their moms were talking about themselves, or talking about like what what their daughters were eating and things. I think as a parent, I think if you can not comment on your daughters' bodies, on what they look like so much, but instead praise them for things that they do, praise them for being smart, for doing a good job at school, for writing a great book report, for playing great in a softball game, for doing a good job in gymnastics, whatever they're into, whatever their interests are. I think it's supporting their interests and taking the attention off of what they look like, not saying, oh, I don't really know if that looks right on you, or I think so that would be part of it. And then also modeling good eating behaviors, right? Like not keeping a bunch of processed food around the house, having a lot of really whole foods, healthy snacks. And if you have a spouse, even if you guys do all that, but if your wife talks negatively about herself and what she looks like, right, your daughters will pick up on that, and they'll realize that, like, you guys are potentially looking at them and judging them the same way. So I think that would, I think just not putting so much emphasis on what your daughters look like is a great place to start. If they seem like they're very worried about what they look like, or they want to, if you hear them talking about themselves negatively, I think it's important to reframe it, to ask, and if if they are feeling like, maybe they don't like the way that they look, maybe ask some probing questions, and why. Maybe they might not like the way that if they're feeling like they're overweight, or they don't like the way that they look. If you can shift that focus from what they look like to, like, well, would you like to feel stronger, right? To viewing exercise as something that can support your health. I think that's a good way to look at it, right? So not so much what you can't eat, but what you need to nourish your body, or to allow your body to do great things. Like if you want to do a pull-up, right? I'm a big believer in pull-ups. The more you weigh, it is harder to do pull-ups, right? But so, like, if your goal is to do a pull-up, that might be a good goal, in the sense that you start thinking about strength. Maybe you start training your body so it can do that. You start to look at, maybe trying to, if this would indeed be the case, if this was somebody, what they were looking for, you try to reduce some of the extra fat that you have, so that you can get to the point where you can pull your chin over a bar. So it's not what you look like, it's what you can do, and if, I don't want to pretend like weight is irrelevant, because I used to be a gymnast, and, there's a very sweet spot as a gymnast, right? If you get too thin, it's really unhealthy. But, the extra and the more and more excess weight that you have after a certain point, it will start to detract from your ability to, flip through the air. So, but just looking at it as like what you can do versus how you look, I guess.
Jake says thank you for the answer.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a long answer. Sorry. Okay.
He appreciates it.
Okay. Yeah.
Being into fitness like you are.
Yeah.
What's your usual routine during the week? How do you work out each?
Okay, so I do a lot, and I'll just preface this by saying that you don't have to do all this. I do this because I really, really, really enjoy it. Okay. So I lift lower body on Wednesdays and Sundays. Wednesdays medium, Sunday is heavy, heavy, heavy. I lift upper body on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesdays medium, Saturday is heavy. And then on Mondays And Thursdays frequently, but I don't have to do this, but frequently one or both of those days I'll do an obstacle training course because I really like this obstacle training. I think it's like super duper fun. And then a lot of times on Friday I'll just do like a long bike ride, a Peloton. When I say long, I mean like 45 minutes, on the other days where I'm lifting, I usually just do like 20 to 30 minutes of cardio, but it's low intensity, steady state. I teach 3 yoga classes on Saturday, but two of them are half an hour, and it's an all levels yoga, so it's not too strenuous. I take a boxing class on Sundays just because I think it's really fun. I do the boxing before lower body, which is a terrible idea, and I wouldn't recommend it. It's the only time I can do the boxing though, and the lower body heavy at the same. It just works out that way. And I also usually play an hour and a half of ladies doubles tennis on Saturday just because I really like it. But ladies doubles tennis is like, it's like bridge. It's like all we do is talk. We screw around. It's, I mean, my heart rate probably gets up to like 90, so it's a lot. You sure won't have to. I think if you wanted to, you could simply do 20 to 30 minutes of cardio, say 3 or 4 times a week, and you could lift full body, a reduced full body, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for like, you could just make it 2 or 3 sets of 4 exercises, right? You could do a push, like a bench press. You could do a pull, like rows or pull-ups or something. You could do squats, which is like a squat. And then you could do like a hinge, like an RDL. And there you go. You could do those four exercises or some variation of that 3 times a week, 2 to 3 sets each, and you'd be in great shape. You really could.
It's a good thing you preface that with that you do a lot and other people don't.
I'm not. I already know it's too much. Like I totally know it's too much, but there's just I don't know. I just like to I just really enjoy it. Like it makes me really happy.
It seems like you were pumped just talking about what you do during the weekend.
I do. I love it.
This, but you were pumped up.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
That's outstanding. How about 3 bits of advice for that person that wants to become a writer, wants to get their book published? What would you tell them?
Okay, so I'm going to assume it's fiction, right? So if it's I don't know as much about nonfiction, but many of this probably applies. So I'm trying to think first. I'm going to assume that somebody has not written a book yet. Okay, if you've not written a book, I would suggest reading some books on craft. There's a book called the cat. What is it called? Like the Save the Cat. There's a book called Save the Cat, which is a weird name, but it's a book on like the 3-act structure for stories. I didn't read much about writing before I wrote my books. And if I would have known more about story structure, there's an actual story structure that I didn't realize. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. I intrinsically got a lot of that right just because I read so many books. So that would be my second thing is read a lot in the genre that you want to write in. You should be very, very, very familiar with it because then you'll understand, right? Because even though I didn't know about that 3-act story structure, I just kind of intuited that from reading these books. So I would say read about story structure, read in your genre, and then when you write your first draft, write a crappy first draft. Just do it. Just get it done and just do it because you can spend a lot of time going over and over and over, reworking chapter 1, reworking chapter 2, and you can spend all this time on it. But what you really need to do is you just need to write that story through. You just got to write it through, get it done, because once you're done, you'll go back and you'll edit. And what you might find is that there will be parts of the story that you might have sweated a lot on, because I did, right? I have some beautiful scenes that ended up on the cutting floor because they're beautiful, but ultimately they didn't support the story. Because you might have an idea on where you're going before, and some people will make themselves an outline. Some people won't. They're called plotters or pantsers, like by the seat of your pants. However you want to do it, up to you. But you will find, even if you plot it out, because on the book I'm writing right now, my second one, I've plotted it out. You'll find that even doing that, you're going to find that there are certain scenes that you realize ultimately when you're all done, you're going to realize that there are certain scenes that don't support that story, or your story might veer in a different direction. So just get it done. Get it done. You can always trim, you can add. I want to give a few more. Can I give it just a couple more things I would do too? Okay, if you want to get your story published, then once you get that manuscript done and you've gone back through it, set it aside for a couple weeks, right? Set it aside, let it percolate, then pick it back up and go through, edit it again, make it as tight as you can, get some beta readers, have them read it, give you some feedback, rewrite it again. And when it is as tight as you can possibly make it on your own, that's when you take it out and you look for an agent. And if any of your readers or if any of your listeners have any questions on this, you can contact me. I'd be more than happy to save somebody some blood, sweat, and tears. Just 'cause I learned a lot doing this the hard way,
Yeah, it takes it's better to have others help you than to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I learned that after my first book. So
yeah,
second book, I used the village instead of just using the me.
Right. Yeah. The problem is the first time you just don't know what you don't know. Right. Yeah. Live and learn. Right.
Yeah. As long as we're still here the next day, it's all gravy at that point.
Yeah.
So you said they could reach out to you and ask you questions. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Okay. So there would be two ways. So I'm on Instagram as Lori Brand Writes and Lifts. So that's LORI BRAND Writes, like WRITES, and AND Lifts, LIFTS. And then on I have a website just called Lori Brand Writes, because that's just what it is, right? Lori Brand Writes. And on my website, I have a contact me form or whatever. So if you had any questions, about strength training, about fitness, about yoga, about writing a book, you can just hit me up. Yeah, I'm not selling programs or anything, right? I only got a book like that. That's it, right? So
all Lori's links are scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. They are also in the notes as well.
Oh yeah, I'm on LinkedIn too. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I didn't forget about that, but yeah, I'm on LinkedIn too. You can contact me through there. Okay.
Awesome. And Lori, thank you again for hanging out with us tonight on your well-deserved heavy lift day for your legs on Sunday, lower body, and boxing, and probably something else I missed in there. But sure.
Okay.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing what else you do in the future.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a great night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Got a question about your VA benefits, healthcare, or eligibility? Go to va.gov, where you can access a new interactive chatbot to ask questions 24/7. One can still browse va.gov for information, but you can now ask specific questions to the chatbot, like what's the PACT Act? How do I apply for disability benefits? What's my claim status? You can access the new feature through va.gov's Contact Us page. Then click on the Start Chat button. The chatbot will continue to improve veterans' access to information about the benefits and services they've earned. This is one way VA is offering seamless and secure access to its online resources.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.